Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is going to be the final session for day number 2 of Dare to Be Great 6. And I am super excited for this speaker all day. Everything has been awesome. But there is one thing that I want to ask right off the bat for our speaker here, because I don't know that anyone has told me, and we haven't had a chance, even when we were troubleshooting here before we got started. How do you pronounce your first name?
It's Amirani, but I go by
Oh,
Amy if it makes it any easier.
you said you go by what now?
Amy.
Amy. Okay. So saying it the way you said it the first time, the right way, in my head, it was right. I was going to say it right, but I probably would have bitten my tongue or something and said it wrong. So I'm glad I had you say it. So Amarani is going to be doing a session called Transformation and Renewal through Resilience. Thank you very much for being here, and go ahead, take it away.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being here today. And before we get started on our PowerPoint and slide, I just want to take a moment to thank all of our dispatchers from Western North Carolina, as well as all of the TERP members and all of the staff that came to our help during the hurricane. Thank you from the bottom of my heart to all my peers that are here today. We're doing this for you, and I hope that this can be of some help to someone and learn from it and move on. And, what a better background than to see these mountains. And we're going to come back more resilient and stronger than we ever were before. So, just starting on some housekeeping stuff, some introduction. I started my career back in 2016. I was the first Hispanic call taker within our department. I began my career after I obtained my DACA in 2016. It was such an honor and a blessing to have joined the department. And I have been doing it for 8 years now. I am married with my husband, Armando. We've been married for 19 years. And I have 4 beautiful children, Gio, Michael, Lizette, and Julian. We also have Sophie here, who is my service dog. And I'll show her to you in just a second. There she is. I just wanted y'all to see her and introduce her to y'all. She's my partner in crime. She's been with me to one of the most toughest times and has helped me, along with my family, peers, continue to succeed in this amazing career. I have graduated with an associate in criminal justice and a bachelor's in business law administration. And we're still not done. We still got a little bit more school to do. And hopefully we can reach further career goals in the near future. I wanted to do this not only for myself, but for everyone out there. Transformation and renewal through resilience. Well, when I want to take you back through memory lane. Who here remembers the first day you started in this career? Anybody got any pictures of your rookie year? Well, let me tell you. This picture was taken back at the beginning of my career when we were trying to do promo for hiring new hires and stuff. And I wrote this quote. Back then, it meant a totally bit different meaning than it does now. I love my job because I get to help people in what could be the worst possible day of their life and be the first point of contact during that time. During that time, I never had any background in first responder career. This was my first job ever in the first responder field. So I didn't really know what I was getting myself into becoming a 911 dispatcher, nor did I have any experience with how critical our job could be. So thankfully, the agency provided all the training and everything and gave me the opportunity to learn the job. And when I mentioned to you that this sentence that I wrote, back in 2016 has a totally different meaning now, is I see this that we're the first point of contact for our callers, but we're there for them when they need us the most. And over time, let's take a moment to think about it. How many critical incident calls do you take a day? How many traumatic calls do you take in a week, in a month's worth? It's all up in your mind, and it's not, if it's not treated properly when it happens, it's going to be like a file cabinet that is unorganized, or like a bookshelf that eventually is going to load and continue to load till it breaks. When I see this sentence now that I wrote many years ago, I wish that I could have also um, added something that to be the first point of contact for our callers, but also for our own peers. Why? Because who is there for us when we need it the most? No one else but our own peers. That is so true, because no one can understand what a first responder endures during their shift but their very own. Yet we're so bad with communicating, aren't we? uh, who can tell us that it's so easy to talk about, hey, this call was tough on me, or and most of us, we keep it to ourselves, and we see everyone around us being good after a critical incident, and we think that I have to be good too. I shouldn't have any reactions or anything to it. But everyone is different. Everyone is will respond in different ways. Just to fill you in on some of my career experiences over the years, and this is just, the foremost impactful in a way throughout my career. But I don't know how many of y'all here have a trouble magnet in your in your agency, or they always, they're there because they stir trouble. Well, that is me. And what does that mean? Well, not only do you get the most critical incidents, but man, do you get the most traumatic type of incidents. Anybody ever thought about that? How does that person feel every time they take a critical incident like that? Sometimes we joke around between ourselves, don't we? Yeah, that's mostly what we do. But in 2018 was my biggest, most critical incident of my career. I think was the one that impacted me the most. And I know all of y'all can relate to this, because there has been the one call that has stuck with you for a very long time. And we can relate that from time to time, another incident will happen and it will resurface that very first one. In 2018, I received a call from a juvenile caller. And as all of you peers know, those calls are the most hardest ones to deal with, for sure. In 2018, a 10-year-old had just witnessed their mom and siblings had gotten killed and lived through it. It was one of the hardest incidents in my entire life. I had never experienced anything like it. Thankfully, I had such a great leader at that time that she was there for me when I needed it the most, and helped me look forward to what reactions and stuff were going to happen then. And unfortunately, for some of you that don't know, and I don't think I've ever talked with anyone about, why this affected me so much. Well, it affected me so much because each one of those children were the same age as my children. Think about that for a minute. How did that affect me so much that when I went home to my very own children, it was a trigger for me then? So it's a reminder that be conscious that anytime a critical incident like that comes around, be thinking about your peers, be there for them, because you don't know how impactful that is to them. I apologize, there's a plane going by if it's very noisy, but so think about it. At that time, um, most of you would say, I would go home and hug my children a little tighter. Well, for me, I didn't know any better. I didn't know any better than to react to either go hug them, or do you have a sense of guilt? Do you have a sense of what if, could have, should have, and you turn your back away and you start to separate yourself from them? Well, over the lapse of a couple years, as we go through this presentation, we'll talk a little more into depth about it, of how it affected me on the personal level. And then I hope that this is a learning curve for many of you. And, if you would have asked me back in 2018 to talk about this, I think I wouldn't have even begin to talk about it without even starting to cry. And I'm surprised I haven't even started crying yet. But, I think that it's so important for everyone to share what you have experienced and be proud of what you have done, because not everybody can do this type of job. And subsequently, 2 years later, unfortunately, we had some multiple suicides within, a close, tight community. And that hit so close to home because it was some of my kids' friends. And one of those calls, I did had to receive the calls. And so it was one of the hardest things to do, and to come home and see your child, hurting from being in such an incident that you just put themselves always first and then leave yourself behind, regardless of how you feel or anything. Um, you know, we always tend to put everybody else in front of us and then neglect ourselves to say, this is how I'm feeling. I need to share this with someone, but instead we keep it to ourselves and we keep going, because that's what we know best to do, is we keep going and we keep going and we don't know when to stop unless somebody, comes at us and says, hey, calm down, slow down. Hey, do you need somebody to talk? And that is why it's so important to have someone to lean back on. And then in 2024, man, 2024 has been one of the greatest, hardest times within our center, within our family of peers. We had a sudden coworker death, Jesse. And I wanted to share this picture with you. This picture is so near and dear to my heart. This is a crochet flag that I made for her family. Um, I didn't know what to give her family that could help them feel the love and support from us than to crochet something like that, that is so personal to us, to myself, and present it to her family. That I put this together within a couple weeks, and it was so rewarding and blessing to me that it's another way that is therapeutic to myself, to be able to do something like this. And we'll talk a little bit about something that has come out of that. Um, and then, in Hurricane Helene hit us, and oh boy, something that we were not expecting, and it was something bigger than you know anything anyone could have ever imagined. And with the support of our peers within our room, it was such an honor to have witnessed the labor, the work, and the selfless act that each and everyone within that center provided to everyone within our region. I couldn't tell you how honored and how humbled it is to see them and hear them that they were victims of it themselves, and yet still be there, showing up each day to be there for our community in their time of need. And even though they had their own time of need, that was a selfless act in them to be able to be there to support each other, to be able to answer that call and be there on the other side of the line when someone pled for help. I just want to say, it to me it's such a traumatic incident, yes, but it's also been a very rewarding incident. And it's whichever way you want to look at it. But you know what? Ultimately, the good outcomes the bad. And that's how we need to see it. That's what we need to look at. How can we make it better? How can we help to make it better? Now, I wanted to bring this up to you because I don't know if any of you have ever been in a debriefing after a critical incident. Um, in a debriefing, they share with you some symptoms that you experience after a traumatic incident. And in that slide that you receive at those debriefings, or you may have some floating around your center, CISM lists about 100 symptoms that you experience after a crisis and a trauma. Well, let's be honest, how many of you have ever actually taken the time to read through it and read through it the entirety to actually think about, man, I'm suffering from that, and how many? Well, I can tell you that, the times that I was in these debriefings, we get to talk with our peers and everything, but I never really took the time to reflect on the type of symptoms that I was feeling after any of these critical incidents. At least the first two, I can tell you that, I would just glance at it and move on. Well, in just a second, we're going to talk about, what made me realize, man, I'm suffering from over 30 of those symptoms due to a lot of the critical incidents and trauma that I have suffered throughout my career. Think about it, out of 100, to suffer at least over 30, 36 of them. That's just, I wanted to keep it short and simple, but that's just for you to think about. How many of you are suffering from anxiety? I think every 911 dispatcher in here suffers from that. High blood pressure, right here. Memory problems. I think all my peers can say, Amy, you're really bad with memory. But, what leads to it? What caused you to have these problems? At first, I thought it was health related problems until, I had the opportunity to attend a retreat, and they helped us learn so much skills and tools and gave us all the information we needed. And then something hit home. I was like, man, if doctors can't figure out what's going on, then maybe I need to look deeper into it. What is the root cause of all these symptoms? Anybody can relate to that? Anybody ever been sick and your doctor just keeps on doing tests and they can't figure out what causes any of these symptoms, to say the least? Well, there you go. Take a look at what you have experienced over the years and how you have treated those traumas. Because if you were able to process those traumas and you're good, you don't need help, and you haven't experienced any of those, kudos to you, and I'd like to meet you. Because in some shape or form, that critical incident has affected you, whether you realize it or not. And I can tell you that I myself couldn't have realized that those symptoms were present without the help of my peers, my family, my children. And if anybody's got their mom Mom, you can't lie to moms. They can detect everything and anything you say. And mom, was the very first one to realize, hey, I think you need to go to this retreat. It would be a life changer. And I wanted to talk to you some of the triggers that I experienced after these traumas, because each incident brought its own challenges, and it's like a chain reaction. With the first incident, you have a certain set of triggers, a certain set of set offs, whether it's sounds related to the trauma, the pleads for help, the gunshots, screams, anything, you name it, and those calls we receive each and every day, right? And when you start getting more and more calls, it starts to add up and you start having different triggers to them. You know, I myself, um, some of the triggers that I experienced were, gunshots, screams, anything like that. I would automatically react. Um, Either, I started to isolate myself or separate myself from the incidents, or finding myself turning the corner because I don't want to go through a specific road. And people, my family had a lot of similarities related to the trauma, like I mentioned to you before. And so, do we, at that time, I felt like I was more of help to separate myself from them because I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know what to experience at the time. Because, come on, let's be real. When you come out of training, there is no one that can train you or prepare you for such a critical incident until it happens. Until you experience it yourself, there's really no training for it. You can attend like peer support and stuff to help you set yourself up for success. But until you experience it, that's when you're really going to experience the triggers and traumas from them. Different situations that happen related to the call. For example, myself, like being able to go to places that had a lot of people, for a long time, that wasn't something that we could do, or that I could do without being triggered, having panic attacks, anxiety attacks, you name it. Um, in any place that reminded me of the trauma. At the time, like I said, turning the corner, not avoiding the street, and any death related or similar re-trigger of the trauma. Um, I know within our 911s, we have a lot of deaths, suicides, car wrecks. Everyone in their lifetime has suffered a different trauma, whether it was previous trauma from before you started working at the center or trauma that has just built up over time. So keep that in mind. Be thoughtful with your peers and learn about them. Learn what they've experienced throughout their career so that you can be there for them when they need it most. And then, that thing they always say, stay away from social media, movies, news reports that relate to the trauma. The first thing we do, we go look at social media. What are they saying about this? What are they doing about that? And that just adds stress to an already hyped up mind. And in the background, you can imagine, as many of my peers um, have experienced, we get to live in Helene disaster area daily. Can you imagine what triggers they're experiencing right now? Let's just start with wind noise, rain. Right now it's raining, um, even cloudy days. A lot of our peers and people within our town are going to be suffering through this. That's why it's so important to stay in check with them, keep in touch with them, and As we continue through this presentation, we're going to talk a little bit more about resilience and how we can help mitigate these triggers. I want to show you a picture um, of myself with my family in 2016, and then a picture of myself in 2018. Why is this so important? Well, this presentation itself is very raw, and I wanted to be as raw as I possibly could because there's no way around it. If you look at the picture in 2016, we were in Universal Studios. I don't know who here likes Barney, but my littlest one loved Barney. um, we had gone out to Universal Studios, and I experienced such a high stress for me. You know, it's bad being a mom of four, it's a stress, but then you add all of the other triggers behind it. Yes, honey. You add all of the triggers behind it. And is when I realized that something was wrong, something um, was changing, and I didn't know why. I didn't know why. This was a few months after the first critical incident. Yes, baby. And slowly over the years, I became isolated. How many of you have found yourself laying in a room by yourself, not wanting to go out, not wanting to socialize with anyone? Anybody familiar with that? Look around your home. Is your room a mess? Can you imagine why? Is your home a mess? That you just don't have the thrive to do anything, or you just don't want to go anywhere because you feel like nowhere is a safe place but your own bedroom. It's hard. It is one of the hardest things that you can imagine because you become trapped behind four walls. Four walls. And you separate yourself from your family because you don't want to hurt them and you can't share a lot of information to them. So, in a way, you're not letting them know what's happening to you. And since we're so good with communicating, let me tell you um, that we can express ourselves how we're feeling because I don't know if any of the peers here can relate to, but we're so good about bottling everything up when we're taking a call that when we don't let it out at the time it happens, we keep it in here and it stays shut and swallowed down. And we don't bring it back up, or we at least try not to, because we try to avoid it in every way you possibly can. But over time, that is going to resurface back up when you least expect it. And I saw it happen over and over and over again with myself and everyone around me. That it comes back up when you least expect it. And that is why it's so important to be ready for it when it does happen, to have the support behind you, to be there for you when you do need it. Even if you think you're okay right now, it doesn't hurt to have that safety net behind you to be there for you. Because as you all know, in this field, it's not if it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. And when it does happen, guess what? That safety net is going to be behind you to help you get back up without having, or at least lowering your chances of having PTSD in the near future. And that brings me into talking a little bit about my wellness, the wellness retreat that I had the opportunity to attend. A retreat that changed my life forever. And how did I come across that retreat? Well, all it took was one of our peers to share within our center that this was going to be the first retreat ever. And I took a chance at it. I took a chance not knowing what it was about. And for that, I will always be grateful because that retreat was made for peers by peers. Someone that actually understood what you are going through and will be going through and help you create a foundation for the future. And whether the damage has been already done, help you get back up, build a new normal for yourself. This retreat was in 2023 and in January. And I was the only one from my center to be able to attend. And I thought it was like a vacation. I had read a little bit about what it was going to be, but those peers blew my mind away. Because from the minute you walked in that door, you felt the appreciation and love that they putting every single detail together for that retreat. It made you feel like home. It made you feel like home from the moment you walked in. Each and every one of you was like a brother or sister to me. And some amazing friendships grew from there that I couldn't be more thankful. The retreat was geared to build skills on self care. Let's be honest, as a 911 dispatcher, self care is one of the biggest problems within our career. Is it not? Let's be true to ourselves. It surely is. It is the most neglected part of ourselves, the self care, because we're always on the go. We always want to be there for everyone else but our own selves. And you know what? That's good. We get to help others, we get to be there for others. But there is a way that we can do both while not neglecting ourselves. And that was peer support. I learned about peer support through the Nina retreat. And oh my God, I learned a new passion within our 911 center, within our 911 industry, to be a peer support member and be there for my own peers, be there for everyone else that may have experienced similar situations like myself, was such a life changing moment for me because if I ever get the pleasure of meeting anyone, I love to help others and I like to help everyone around me. But when I was in a bad place, peer support was very unknown, and learning the skills to be able to be there for your peers more than saying, "Are you okay? Are you sure you're okay?" Because what are we going to say? "Oh, yeah, we're okay. We're good. Nothing's happening." Well, how about we get the connections to these peers that need the help so that they can thrive? They can be themselves or come back to being themselves better than they were before. And our nutrition, gosh, during the retreat, we had breakfast, lunch, dinner, and we learned about, nutrition and how to take care of ourselves even after going back home. Because, hey, I don't know about y'all, but man, every time we get to eat, it's at our desk. I don't think many of us get the opportunity to have a warm meal, especially when you're a mom, because we're always on the run. And then we learn about the different types of stress, and trauma that I honestly had no idea about or didn't even learn about because all this within our career was so new to me that, man, I didn't know any better. And then they taught us different resources and therapies that were available because that was so crucial. Because at first we thought that at first I thought that, you do therapy, and if you don't like your therapist, I thought, well, hey, tough out of luck. You can't get another one. Well, I was so wrong. Therapy, I've learned over time that it's like your spouse. If you don't get along within the first few sessions, then it's time to find someone else. And the different types of therapies, it was the same way. Some therapies worked for certain incidents, other therapies worked for other incidents. And being able to know that there was options out there was such a life changer. And then I created those friendships. Those friendships that, oh my God, it made you realize that you are not alone, that there's others out there who have suffered just like you are and are still suffering in silence. Why do we need to lose any more first responders to suicide, to divorce, to anything else? There is no need for that. When we have such a tight family within all of our 911, above and beyond what your center has, look around you, do your research, find out. There is more out there than what you can see behind four walls. No one can do it for you but your own self. You have to come to a realization that if you make the change now on your own, no one can do it for you. What else you got to lose that you haven't already lost? When you hit rock bottom, there's only one way to go, and that is up. We have learned during our career, and we have heard. How many of you had suicidal callers who are screaming for their family member that passed away? If you ever thought about suicide, let me tell you, learn from your callers because we can learn from them. Do you really want to do that self-harm to your own family? Because that's what they're going to be experiencing if something happens to your own self. So you know what? Get yourself up, dust yourself off, and keep going. There ain't nobody else that can do it better than your own self. You think you're at rock bottom and you need somebody to lift you up? Reach out. I'm sure you're going to find someone within the 911 industry that is going to be willing to be there for you. Anybody in the chat? I'm telling you, losing is not an option. We can come back better than we were before. There's no excuses than delaying our own therapy, than delaying our own help. No one is in the way but our own selves. Our own selves is the hardest part, is for us to come to a realization on our own that we need help. Now, some of the things that I have done over time with therapy and some of the coping techniques, techniques and therapy that I've done over these last 2 years have been EMDR. EMDR, if anybody's ever been able to do, is something that they can either do with your hands, with the therapist's hands, or they have two little prongs that they can use. That has helped me mitigate the reactions and triggers of a critical incident. And even after Helene, we have done a lot of EMDR sessions to help our mind process everything that we've experienced over time and organize that file folder. I've also done prolonged exposure. Prolonged exposure was good for the very first incident because it helped me reinvent myself and start to get back out into a social life. So keep in mind that every therapy is geared towards a different towards a different outcome. So I've also we also have our service dog, Sophie. Does anybody know the difference between a service dog and a emotional support dog? Anybody? Well, I do gotta say, I was neglecting myself because I didn't know the difference between it. I thought they were both the same. There's really, what is a dog gonna do? Well, I had to learn after Sophie came into our life. That's a picture of Sophie when she was a pup, being silly. um, that a service dog is a dog for a person with disability. Well, did you know that PTSD is part of a disability? Yeah, it sure is. And if the dog can perform a task, in Sophie's case, she can perform 3 tasks: lap, shoulders, and chest, then it's considered a service dog. I had to learn a lot about that. A therapy dog may perform a task, but if it doesn't have a specific handler that has a disability, then it's still considered a therapy dog. So, if that's something that you think might help you to deal with all of your trauma, then go for it. Whatever works for you. For me, I love animals, and my kids love animals, so I knew that a service dog was going to be a life changer for myself. And so I bet on it. Just like our peer Sam said yesterday, sometimes you got to bet on yourself and you got to dive into the unknowns. And that's what we did with Sophie. We did our research. We found a place that came and did the training at our home. We learned about the laws of having a service dog and when we go out into public and stuff like that. And I've been very blessed that our center allow her to come with me to work. And during Helene, I don't know what we would have done if I didn't have her with me because she helped me keep myself grounded. I also attended NC Leap seminar. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of it. The NC Leap seminar is geared for if you wanted to attend it on your own or with your spouse. It is a very good seminar that is done by those folks. It's a 3-day seminar. It really helped me interact with more people, and we also learn more techniques for coping mechanisms with different trauma. I also started a page, a Facebook page, if anybody wants to ever follow us on Flags for Fallen Heroes on Facebook. Flags for Fallen Heroes I made after one of the deputies was shot and killed in Hendersonville. And it's crochet flags that I make for all those fallen heroes who died in the line of duty and at no cost to the family. So I make them and I give them to the family. There is nothing to it. I don't get anything out of it, but I get the satisfaction of making someone smile. And for me, that's priceless. Exercise. Man, exercise is one of the hardest things to do. And sometimes we overdo it after a traumatic incident because we are so hyped up that sometimes we might overdo it. But that has been also a good thing to kind of help you promote different hormones and stuff within your body that can help you continue to heal. And then one important thing was I created time for myself. Time for myself to do things that I like with my family and also on my own. And that was whether, we would go to the salt cave and do some salt cave sessions. Some of my peers that are in here have done them with me, 45-minute sessions that we go in and it's just quiet room. And also going out and doing fun things that maybe I wouldn't have had, the courage to do before. And another thing that I wanted to bring up is that once you do decide to get treatment, you may feel tired. Once I started to get the therapy and everything, and I started healing past the trauma, and my body slowed down from the fight or mode, I was exhausted. And after Helene, a lot of our peers said the same thing. We were just so exhausted after it because we were go, 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 go nonstop. And then when we finally had the time to actually slow down and stop, we were completely exhausted. And at the time, sometimes after critical incidents, all we wanted was a moment of silence and calm because we're not only answering calls, but we're also talking on the radio. So all we hear is people talk, talk, talk. And so sometimes we just need a moment of silence. But it's so important to communicate with your family. I am so blessed that my kiddos and my husband have been there for me during this hurricane because, we would come home so tired and he would help me with cooking. And then, I'd say, it was a tough day and I just want some silence. And they would be so um, conscious about it and give me some room to reconnect myself. And then you also got to remember that your body was deprived for years of this stillness. You deserve it. Don't feel bad that you have to take a moment and get some relaxation time because it's exhausting to carry the load of a whole town, of a whole state, of a whole center in your back. For how long? Months? Years? Prioritize yourself. Number one, I want you to know you're not alone. If you feel you're alone, hey, I'm right here. Anytime you need me, we're here. You need Sophie? Sophie's more than happy to come home. Make yourself be the top priority. Nothing can happen if you don't take care of yourself. Without you, then who are you? What are you going to do? If you don't have the energy, you don't have the health, and you're not there to be there for your own self, man, ask for help. You don't have to say much. You don't have to explain yourself why you need help. All you have to say is, I need help. Look around you. Look around your center. I want you to look around your desk if you're at work or if you're in your office. I want you to step outside your office. To all the administratives, step outside, look around you. Look at your peers. Anybody seem tired? Anybody seem like they're overwhelmed? Go over, give them a pat on their back. Ask them what you can do to make it better. Or reach out to them. Don't leave them hanging on their own. Be there for them. And develop the skills and technique for a healthy coping mechanism. We know it's easy to pick up on drinking or doing drugs and things in that kind of nature, but find your way to stay away from things that are going to harm you, your family, and everyone around you. Speak kindly to yourself. What do we mean by speak kindly to yourself? Well, we're good to say, I feel like I could have done more. I just feel that maybe something else I could have done. What ifs, could have, should have's, right? Think about it for a moment. Who else was going to be there to answer that 911 call but your own self, right? You were there. Did anybody? Anybody else? No. You were at least there to answer the call, whether it was for your caller, for your officer, or for your own peers. So be kind to yourself. Check in with your own self. And if you know you're bad like me, to check in on your own self, make friends, talk to your family, share with them. Maybe we can't give them details about our experiences or our calls, but share details with them on how you feel. How did it impact you? What reactions are you having to it so that they can be on the lookout for you? And when they do see them, they can be like, hey, Amy, maybe you need to step away and check in, like, have some time for yourself. It is so important to build trust within your team, within your center, within your own peers. Because when they do need the help, you can be there for them. And then I came across this picture, the iceberg. Anybody can relate that all we hear about people is all of the good things that they've done throughout their career? Oh, that's right. We are good to say, oh, well, I got an award for this, I got an award for that. Um, but we're not good to talk about what got us there. And I wish that some people would flip that iceberg. What if we show people what they don't see? And let me tell you, it ain't going to make you any less stronger than they are, but it's going to show them that I am going to be stronger because I know how to work myself up to either solve a problem, give a solution, or you're going to know that I'm not going to give up on it because that's who I am and how I am. Don't be afraid to show people how you got where you are because you're afraid that they're going to take over your position. That's not what happens. People will start to connect with you when you start sharing your own story, your own thoughts. Ain't that right, sir? Yes, that's right. So share with them. Be determined, man. Encourage one another. Lead one another. Because at the end of the day, we all have one same goal: keep our callers safe, keep our officers safe, and be there for our families and our own selves. Whatever it took to get you there, be proud of it because it wasn't nothing that anybody else did for you but your own self. So flip that iceberg and show people what they don't see. And I wanted to talk a little bit about Helene. Man, Helene, if you're not familiar with it, which I'm sure all of you are, brought a great destruction through our town, Swannanoa, Black Mountain. Um, Many of our peers, lost their homes. And we received so many calls. Oh boy, it was more than I could count. All I could hear was that buzzing noise of the calls just keep on coming. And the phone never stopped ringing during it. We had so many deaths, structural damages, roads washed off, several landslides, anything you can imagine. And then we had one of our firefighters passed away. And it was hard. If we thought Helene was a blow to the chest, losing a coworker in the line of duty made it even. It was like, man, it was even harder because not only did we witness such a great destruction, but we also witnessed how much our peers were hurting, how each one of us became a victim of it. But during it, it was so important that all of our team worked together to work through it. Our center has an embedded clinician, and they brought different therapists to be there with us during those days, the first couple of weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And coming up, we're going to have some debriefings about it. But we had therapy. They brought some acupuncture. I had never done acupuncture, and oh my God, it was the most relaxing thing I could have ever done. I could have fallen asleep during it. They brought some chiropractors. Lord, that helped, relax our body. And then we had some amazing TERT members come our way and come our help. And I'm going to tell you something. We were so tired after Helene that when we saw those TERT members And we also had some of our contract coworkers come in. All they had to do was to see such destruction that when I saw them walking in that door, it was such a relief to see so many people coming in to help at the time when we needed it the most. That's why I love what I do, and that's why I love the job that I do, because they were there selflessly to help us overcome this hurdle of disaster. They were providing us, with peer support, and see Leap also came in. And then those TERT members, they had a couple of days to train, and then they gave us some time away. They gave us some time away to catch up. A lot of us were very hesitant. I was one of them. But thankfully, I had some friends from Nina that reminded me, you got to take some time away. You got to take care of your own self. And I grabbed my family and we went away um, for a week, or not for a week, but like a weekend, to have some time to reconnect or rebuild, because we knew this was going to be like a marathon. It's going to be a very long time before we can rebuild, reconstruct. And so we have to be able to finish that marathon, because I don't know about y'all, but I'm very stubborn and we ain't going to give up halfway through it, right? I want to share this video with you. And I do want to give you a heads up. This video is very raw. I created this video the last day of the retreat when we were heading home. And little did I know that this video, I was going to look back to it and think, and be thankful that I did what I did, because it makes me and it reminds me why I do what I do. Number one, because I love my family. And I was going 1,000 miles per hour ready to hit a wall, because I was working full time. I was working part time. I was a full time college student. And I was a mother of four. And I was going straight into a wall. Well, I wouldn't have been suicidal. How much longer could my body keep up with that? Not much long. So I did this video, and I want to share it with y'all. I wouldn't share it with anybody else. So that's just how much of a family all of y'all feel to me. And so I want you to watch the beginning, and throughout it, I wanted to show you some pictures of what it looks like when you seek help, when you begin therapy and you continue therapy. How has it impacted in my life, physically, mentally, that it has helped me reconnect with my children, with my family, with my mom, with my sisters, and everyone around me, to learn a new perspective of my career. So here it goes. Giving me all the tools to be able to keep going above and beyond, to come back from a dark place that I was in and alone. This week, I've made so many friends that I hadn't had in a very long time. I have friends back home that you can talk to, smile and show the outer you. But this week, this retreat has allowed me to look inside of me and open up myself more than ever. Thank you guys. I will forever be grateful, and God bless you guys. Giving me all the tools to. And I wanted to end this presentation by sharing something that Sophie and I started. We took this picture the weekend that we went away after Helene. What do you see in that picture more than just Sophie? There's a sun in the background and it's rising. That's a reminder that in the darkest moments, the sun will always rise. You just have to take a moment to allow yourself, for everyone around you, to either help you, reach out for help. And even if you think you don't need it right now, it doesn't hurt to have that ready when you do need it to be there for you. So, as a supervisor and all the peers around you, take a moment to learn from others. Take a moment to learn about your peers and their careers so that you can be there for them and look out for when they do need help, to know that they're having a reaction to a specific incident, because that's what's going to help heal them and connect them with the resources they need. So, in this picture, me and Sophie share it. We created some cards and we wrote a little something in the back that says this seashell was found in the sand of a beach. Just like you, it has endured different stages of life and undergone many weather changes. Tell your story and show the world the beauty within you. The sun will always rise and bring light through the darkest times. And Sophie and I hope to bring a smile to your face. Thank you, heroes. And Sophie dug out some seashells that go along with it. So if you're interested with it, my email is in my bio. If you like to send me an email, we'd be more than happy to ship it to you. We just want to bring a smile, you know. During these hard times, all we can do is smile. And to all my peers out there who are just watching, just remember those mountains will always be there. You just got to get back up and reach out. Thank you, folks, for being here. And Ricardo, thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for my family and my friends, peers, everyone who has helped me get here. It has been a pleasure and an honor.
Very well done. Wow. That was that was excellent. Thank you so very much for coming on, for sharing your story, and just for what you do. I that was excellent. Just watching that video, I was sitting at the edge of my seat just staring, and powerful. Very
Yes.
powerful. Everything taking from what you have said here. I did take a screenshot. So there'll be something that I talk about in the live that we're going to do here in a little bit, and it's where you talk about prioritizing yourself, and I want to make sure to highlight that as well, because that is very important. And if you're able to look at the comments, I mean, there's just comments all over the place saying an excellent job, and thanking you for telling your story. And damn.
This is my first time ever speaking in public, and my
Are you
screen
kidding?
sometimes gets crossed over. So,
Well done. Yeah, well done, and, I can't wait for the next time that you give this and any other session that you do. I'm there, man. That was excellent. I don't know that it's been, mentioned yet, but I'm gonna be going back to North Carolina and stuff, and I think I'm gonna be close to where you're at. So, maybe when we sit down to chat, we'll do it in person
yes.
instead. Yeah.
You gotta just come to our mountains and feel the love from everyone around within the community. I think that background says more than words can ever express, you know. And the love that our peers had done during this whole disaster has been speechless. Some of the TERT members share their story like, we were given a short notice and we packed our things and went to you guys. Man, what a blessing. It is such
Yeah.
a blessing to be a 911 dispatcher and do what we do. And our family just keeps on growing.
I love your energy, I love your passion, and, your story. Again, very powerful. Thank you so very much for coming on, for putting in for this, and being here. Truly, what the title says, transformation and renewal through resilience. So thank you again very much. And also, if you could, for those who are going to be have joined the community as well, the information that you had on the end, if you can add that to the attendee feed, and then people can contact you from there as well. So that would be awesome. And I appreciate it again. Thank you so very much. This was amazing. A great way to wrap up the entire day, and just the message for everyone throughout today. Thank you so much again for what you do and for your story. And that is the wrap up, everyone, for day 2. I'm going to be going to StreamYard, and we're going to be streaming with Diamond sponsor Rapid SOS, all on social media. So check that out. We're going to be starting here in the next 5 to 10 minutes. And thank you again. And for everyone, we'll see you tomorrow, bright and early, for another amazing day of Dare to Be Great. See you guys tomorrow.